Hey, you guys, it's your gay sports fanatic here. This week's installment is on the NFL, looking at week three. Of course, let's just say it, you guys, the NFL, even after 2 weeks, is completely crazy. It's total pandemonium. I love it. I absolutely love it. This is why the NFL is so great. So this pandemonium didn't help me out too much in this chaos didn't help me out too much in my picks last week. So we'll look back at last week real quick, and it will be quick. And then I'm gonna look at the teams that after 2 weeks are impressing me and the teams that are not. Then after that, I have 7 games that we will look at where I will predict my fearless predictions again against the spread for 7 games I've picked out for week three. So without further ado, let's jump into the teams. Let's start with the teams that I'm impressed with so far after 2 weeks. Number one, I got to start with again, I have to be honest, my favorite team, I didn't expect this though, is the Minnesota Vikings. So the Vikes are 2-0. Who would have thunk that, huh? And Sam Darnold, who would have thought he'd be playing this great? Okay, he's looking terrific. I just always thought he was just a serviceable kind of guy, kind of a minor disappointment, but so far he's looking terrific. So give the Vikings, put them at the top of the heap for surprises and impressive so far. Next up, the New Orleans Saints. What can you say going into the Big D into Dallas? Dallas rolling off a big win in week one. The Saints annihilated them. So Saints sitting there undefeated. They have one of the best offenses in the NFL, period. So look out for the Saints. The Atlanta Falcons as well. They have one of the best secondaries in the NFL. I like the Falcons so far, like how they're playing. Tampa Bay with a huge win last week over Detroit. Got to give Tampa Bay some props here. How about the Arizona Cardinals? I know they're 1-1, but they barely lost in week one at Buffalo. Arizona is looking good to me. They light up the scoreboard, which I really, really like. Also, we got to go with the Buffalo Bills. This probably isn't a big shock to anybody, the Bills, but the Bills really look good. 65 points scored in the first 2 games, and their defense is pretty good too. So, the Bills looking good to me so far. I think so far I'm going to put them at the top of the heap in the AFC. Again, 2 weeks does not make a season. Let's not get carried away, but still, so far, so good. And then, of course, you can't leave out the Texans, the Houston Texans here. They know how to get pressure on the quarterback. That's been key to their success through the first 2 games. And then also, I'm going to go with the Los Angeles Chargers. You can't ignore them being undefeated after 2 games, but they rely so heavily on the run that I don't think this is going to last for them. But as of right now, let's put the Cardinals and the teams that are impressing me so far. So now we'll switch gears to the teams that are not impressing me. And I'm going to look at a whole division here, and that's the AFC South. So outside of Houston, all these teams suck. So let's just get that out of the way. Cleveland, they've not had a takeaway yet in the first 2 games. You've got to get takeaways in the NFL. You've got to get that turnover margin going. So if Cleveland can clear that up, they can certainly look better the rest of the year, and they're going to have to because they're not sitting that well from what I can see at this point. Dallas, I know they won big week one, but that game last Sunday was so disappointing. Dallas at home barely even showed up. I mean, what a just a horrible performance on national television. So Dallas, you're settling for field goals, and I always say this that if you have more than 3 field goals in a game, I don't like your odds of winning generally. I know it scores, but also you're not scoring touchdowns. You've got to score touchdowns in the NFL to win. Okay, you've got to. Field goals, of course, are critical, particularly in very tight games coming down to the wire. We all know what a walk-off field goal is, but you can't just kick field goals every time you get down there. So that's a big problem for them as well. The Ravens, much better team than they've showed so far. Their pass defense has been pretty terrible. They've got plenty of time to rectify that. I don't expect them to stay on my unimpressive list. They're certainly better than this. So now I'm going to put this is going to okay. This is probably going to provoke some controversy. The Kansas City Chiefs, to me, I'm not impressed. They've won 2 games, totally lucked out. Sunday, very very lucky officiating call. And the first game of the year, they just by a hair won that game too. So I know a lot of games are going to be that close and come down to that. But the Chiefs can't pull this magic trick every week. They should be winning, particularly last week, by more. They shouldn't be in that position. So, and last but not least, I have the 49ers on here that I'm not impressed with. And, Christian McCaffrey's out. They've got some injuries. They also, like I said earlier, they can't score in the red zone. If you can't put it in the end zone in the red zone, you're not going to win over the long haul. Now, with Christian McCaffrey, when he comes back, which I think is in 2 weeks, that will alter that a lot. But in the meantime, they should be able, even with the offense that they have, they should be able to punch this in. And they're not doing it. So they better get on the ball with that, or they'll be 1-3, or probably 1-3, or 0-4, 1-3 going into the game when McCaffrey comes back. So anyway, that's the teams that I see on the uprise, teams I'm impressed with after the first 2 weeks. Again, you can't make too many wild predictions off 2 weeks. But I mean, there have been 0-2 teams that went all the way before, so it's very early. But the NFL is nuts. I love it. So anything can go any direction here from this point out. And then the teams I'm not so impressed with, they can turn it around. I think, except for everybody in the AFC South, except for the Texans, I think they're just done. That division to me is over. So let's look at the 7 games I'm going to take a stab at this week with the spreads. And there's nothing worse than picking NFL games with a spread. There's nothing harder. And so, week 1, I knocked it out of the park. Week 2, I struck out. So let's see week 3 how I do. First off, first game I'm looking at is the Chargers getting 2.5 at Pittsburgh. Might surprise some people here, but I'm taking the Chargers to win this game. Justin Fields is not going to cut it for Pittsburgh. I'm going to have to go with the Chargers and take the points. Now, I'm taking the points. I'm not saying they win. I'm taking the Chargers. I'm taking that 2.5. If this moves to 3, absolutely grab it. Next, the Bears are 1.5-point favorite at the Colts. Give me the Bears here. The Bears defense, I think, will shut this down. The Bears are getting 1.5. I'll take it. I also think like the Bears as a winner in this game. The Vikings are getting 2.5 at the Texans. Or the Texans are at the Vikings, excuse me. This is a great matchup right here. Nobody would have thought that before the season started, but it is. Vikings are getting 2.5. Now, I'm prefacing this as I record that word is that Justin Jefferson will be back playing for the Vikings this week. That's crucial. I'm making this bet on him being back. Even without him, I'm going to say that the Vikings can do this. But the Vikings plus 2.5. Take the points. Take the Vikings at home. I think the Vikings will win the game, but I just like the Vikings in the 2.5. Next, we have the Jaguars at the Bills. The Bills are giving away 5.5, so they're a 5.5-point favorite. The Bills' offense is just too potent. It's just too potent. I see the Bills covering this spread. Actually, I see them covering easily. So it's one of the few games in the NFL that's not close at all this week. Next, we have the Chiefs and the Falcons, and I'm going to switch gears just a little bit on this one because I like the over on this. The over is 45.5. I like the over with the Chiefs and the Falcons. This could be a wild game. And, all the Chiefs games so far are wild. But I just take the over on this one. As far as the Ravens at Dallas, this is also a great matchup. The Ravens got a lot to prove, but so does Dallas, okay? Both these teams are coming in, chip on their shoulder. It's in Dallas. Dallas is getting a point, by the way. I'm going to take Dallas to win in the Big D. They better win this game. If they lose this one, I mean, there needs to be some major screaming out of Texas, okay? Out of North Texas. They need this game. It's a critical game for Dallas, but it is for the Ravens too. But Dallas has got to have this win at home. They're getting a point. Take Dallas to win. Then, last but not least, I have San Francisco at the LA Rams. The Rams have had unfortunate breaks this season. San Francisco is without McCaffrey. They are not punching it in the red zone. I am taking the Rams. They're getting 7.5. Not saying they're going to win, but take the Rams and take that 7.5. I like that amount, that touchdown plus margin there in the Rams' favor. So we'll see how I do, you guys. That's the Gay Sports Fanatic with my picks. I'll be back with you next week to see how I do. Be sure to like, to comment if you like. I would answer comments. Sure, I've said things here that are going to tick some people off. And then also, please subscribe so you'll get a notice of every time I post a new video, which I do twice a week. I'll do a college, I do an NFL post. So I maybe mix in some others every now and then. So please subscribe. But you guys, thank you very much. Happy football watching this weekend. Thank you.